Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the December 9th, 2024 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, Twitter stream, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio is where you can check us out. Obviously, you can email me as always at richard@WCPT820.com. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, of course, the long version and the short version. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, the big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Check out our Heartland Signal digital platform at heartlandsignal.com. Lots of good stuff there where you can share and keep your folks in this conversation as much as you possibly can by just simply sharing with them. So check us out there. Good to be with you on this Monday morning, December 9th. Devin and I were chatting a little bit about the weather and how, as Henry and I have said, or as Henry said and I repeated it, the not having of snow is okay because we don't have to shovel rain. In other words, we'll take some rain, keeps the moisture that we need for this time of year because it does get dry. But weather's kind of bumped up a little bit. It was cold as you know what the earlier part of last week, and these past 4 days have been pretty good. The city, the weather rallied, if you will, here in Chicago. So the folks that were out and about, trust me, I saw it, were definitely appreciating having good weather for the things that they were able to do here in Chicago. Had some family here in town this weekend. Had a chance to show them around our great city, and once again, the feeling was, wow. Did not realize how clean Chicago is. Forgot how clean Chicago is, and just how great the views are. And so, yeah, the city was buzzing this weekend, and it was great to have folks in that could appreciate the city of Chicago. Some birthday shout outs. I've got a cousin in Ohio who had his. Let's see, I'm not going to say his age, but he's a couple years older than I am. So shout out to my cousin Audley, who had a birthday this weekend. And if your family members had birthdays and you forgot, it's not too late. You're still inside the week. You can still send them a text and say, hey, sorry I missed your birthday, but happy birthday. Or, every now and again, I may forget someone's birthday and I will say, happy birthday week if I missed your birthday. It's kind of a little bit of a saving grace. So anyhow, hope you guys did take advantage of the good weather that we had this weekend, and were able to get out and do some things. I saw, Devin, it's the lakefront is amazing, and you forget about it sometimes until you go to it. But I saw a large number of people that were out on the lakefront walking, folks that would jogging, and even some on their bikes. So I guess once it gets past freezing or above freezing for a lot of people, they're going to, get out and do their thing, which is how they should be. And pivoting a little bit to the conversation around our economy, my goodness, there wasn't a place that that I went this weekend that wasn't busy and active. And, parking lots full, parking garages full. It was crazy. And that's a good thing. And it's a good thing because we want us to be out doing stuff. And I always am impressed to see that folks can push through this craziness and get out and do things. But when you tie that to the conversation around what a lot of people voted for or say they voted for in this recent election, you do have to ask the question, what's the disconnect? And so the question that I want to pose to you guys this morning, and you can definitely give us a call after we come back, start with your calls after we come back from this first break. is if so probably 2 weeks ago now, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, whatever. I was talking about an observation I made about Donnie Deutsch, who's on MSNBC, who said that the Democratic Party needs to move to the center. And I said that the Democratic Party doesn't need to move to the center. It needs to capture the people that have maybe gone to the right based on certain social issues, and that if you move too far to the center, then you leave the people who were your base by moving to the center. And so I'm curious about where you guys, I didn't really hear much commentary behind that, but I am curious about that because I had a conversation with another colleague, and the colleague said that the Democratic Party needs to move to the center. And I asked to define what that means. And the question led to, if the Democratic Party keeps going after these micro issues and making those a platform, that the Democratic Party is that's problematic. So my question then would be, if the Democratic Party is to move to the center, is that to say that the Republican Party is in the center? And I would dare say that the Republican Party is not in the center at all. So I still go back to my comment about Donnie Deutsch's statement about the Democratic Party needs to move to the center, because then who is left behind? I think that's the danger of moving the party to the center, is that who's left behind that will be the base that says, well, these issues are still important to us. So I don't know if I have the singular answer. But I do want to hear from you guys today about, do you think the Democratic Party should move to the center? What does that mean? If the answer is yes, then what does that mean? What does moving to the center really mean and look like? And then in the event that were to happen, not only what does it look like, but how does it happen? So it's kind of a three-pronged question, or a question with a couple of additional sections to it. Do you think the Democratic Party needs to move to the center? One, and if so, what does it look like? What will be the issues inside of that? And then what will it take for that to happen? I'm curious about where you guys are in that space. If you think it's crazy, then let us know. If you think it's crazy, tell us why. If you think it's an idea to measure, then tell us why. But I'm curious about that, and I want to try to talk about that today. If you guys have commentary and thoughts about it. One, the other question that came up in conversations with people over the weekend is, now that we're getting closer to the next term with Trump in office, we all know that. And I don't think that the next election is going to be taken away, or that there's not going to be midterms, or that there's not going to be a next general election. I don't believe that, because there's too many moving parts that have to take place. It's not a Trump rolls into office and executive orders no more elections. That's not going to happen. Because the states have too much at risk. Both red and blue states, frankly, have too much at risk. And there's some constitutional things that have to happen. And the numbers aren't there in the House or the Senate, even though the Senate has I think a 4-vote majority. The House doesn't have, it's not there to make those changes. And then constitutionally, as it relates to individual states, they would have to be on board. I think it's a 66% majority, if I have my numbers right. But the point I want to make on that is, we're going to have a 2026 midterm. We're going to have a 2028 general election. I'm counting on that. I'm banking on that, because it's going to happen. The question is going to be, who will be the candidates? I think it's less about if we're going to have an election or elections on a national level, and more about who will be the candidates. So odds are that the Republicans are going to try to create some craziness around potentially having Donald Trump be the candidate, because they'll say they'll state a variety of garbage. But more than likely, the person is going to be someone of a J.D. Vance because he's the vice president. I don't know who the Republican candidate is, and I said this to a number of people. I really don't care. What I care more about, and this is where I want you guys to chime in, is who do you think will be, and we're going to have a primary, who do you think will be our or the Democratic candidate in the 2028 election? And I know that's 4 years off. That's a ways off. And there's a lot of things that will happen between now and then, and a lot of things that need to happen. But I do want to know who you think will be the top 2, 3, 5 candidates that face off in a primary for the Democratic ticket in 2028. And yes, we are way away from that. I realize that lots of things are going to happen between now and that period of time. But I'm looking down the path because I think part of the fix, part of the, after action report and things that we have to think about and be on top of will include who is the candidate at a national level that's going to be the quote unquote head of the party. And nobody get upset that I'm not throwing in who I think it will be or giving you an automatic, here's who it will be. I just think that it's worth talking about. Because as we talk about what we do on a local level, and as we talk about what we do on a regional and a national level, part of that conversation has to be, we can't wait for 2 years. We have to start now. That is going to somewhat be our superpower, is to start now making sure that if we tack to the center or if we change things inside of where we currently are to make that message stronger and even more a message that penetrates even more, we have to start that now. And the who or the who's in terms of candidates, we have to start that now as well, I believe. So let me know what you think on two fronts. Do you think, or what are your thoughts about, let me make more of an open question. What are your thoughts about the Democratic Party moving more to the center, if it needs to happen or not? And if either way, what does that look like? And what's the ingredients of that? I'm asking somewhat of an open question based on a couple of conversations that I've had. And then the second is, in terms of our conversation today that I'd like us to have, is who do you think will be our leading 3, 5, 7 folks running for the national office, and your reasons behind the people or the persons that you may put on that list. So let's have that conversation today. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that.
Let's get the conversation going
On WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Great to be with you this Monday morning. So topics of the day that we're going to cover, and we may go back and forth between what does it look like, or if the Democratic Party should move or tack to the center. What does that look like if it should happen, and if it shouldn't happen? Let's talk about that. Why it shouldn't happen. So I'm curious. I want to hear from you guys on that. I have my observations, which I've stated before, and I want to hear from you guys and what you think about that. The other is, as we go forward on a national level, who do you think will be the primary candidates, the leading candidates, the bench players that are going to step from being, the starting five, from the bench five to the starting five, if you will, to use a basketball analogy. I'm curious where you guys are, because listen, this is a conversation that we have to have if we're going to move forward. And if we don't, then we're going to stay stuck in the space that we're in right now, which is people are worried and concerned and all the other things that are out there. So that's why we have to start having these conversations now and not wait. That's why we have to look at local issues right now. We can't wait. The local issues are the foundation of how our party and how we're able to recapture some, territory that was lost, if you will. And if we don't do that, this is what I can tell you, that if we don't make a tremendously large, huge effort on a local level, then we will have, unfortunately, some repeats. And that means getting involved in things like school board meetings and showing up to that as much as showing up to protest for larger national issues. And so I'll be highlighting a lot of that conversation over the weeks and months to come to talk about local issues, what local issues are important. We're going to have a guest on Thursday that's part of the Ohio Summit County Democratic leadership. So it's about us taking back some local stuff and some regional and national stuff at the same time. And I say stuff not to be disrespectful to the issues, but we have to take back local issues. We have to take back local offices. We have to take back regional as well as national offices. And it's something that if you're in the fight is full. It's a full windshield of items, and that meaning that it's inclusive of local, regional, and national. But I do want to hear from you on what if the Dems should or should not attack to the center from wherever they are now, or not, and if not, why, and if so, why, and what does it look like? Because I think we have that conversation. We have an idea to determine. It'll help us determine what issues and what messaging are important. Not that any of the issues are not important, but Democrats are like herding cats. We just are. Because we have big voices, we have intellectual voices, we have smart people, we have thoughtful people, we have responsible people, and we have people that are not about projecting a message of hate to the community at large or to the individual tribes within our community. And I think that's one of the things that's that's been an appeal of the Democratic Party is the multiple message and the multiple forms of inclusion. On the Republican side, what I can tell you is the Republican, someone said to me, because they were talking about Eric Adams in New York saying, well, he's thinking about becoming part of the Republican Party and, quote, cancel me. I don't see anything on the Republican Party that would be attractive enough to me to say I'm going to switch to the Republican Party. I just don't, because I don't believe in the things that their messaging presents to believe in. And then I could go in any category on a social issue. I'll say that there's a lot of hate in their social agenda. I don't have a hate mindset because someone's different from me, necessarily thinks differently than me. So that's one that I couldn't check the box and go, yeah, I could float to the Republican Party. Economically, Dems do a great job when it comes to economics. The Dems make a bunch of money. Democratic Party is a hardworking party, always has been. And I'm going to give a little asterisk here. Part of one of the conversations that I had to do with, Devin, the working person, the working class that was looked over by the Democratic Party in this election. And I kept saying, well, prove it to me. Show me where the Democratic Party overlooked the last 4 years, looked past, didn't reach out to the everyday working class American. And I know that, what's the face of that community look like? And unfortunately for a lot of people that are of color, it was made to be or portrayed as white middle class working Americans. So the conversation was, did black middle class working Americans get left out if for no reason other than imaging and imagery? And there's a conversation to potentially be had there. I get that. And were other communities of color made to feel that the white working middle class was all about the white working middle class, Democratic white middle class, not the other than white middle class, working middle class. I get that one too. But the Democratic Party has always been about folks making money and being prosperous. The problem is that the message that the media carries is that the Dems only want to come after the rich to take away tax, to increase what they pay in taxes and then redistribute that to others. Well, newsflash to those on the right: if that if that were the perspective or the ideology of the Democratic Party, you on the right would benefit from that. So it's not that the Democratic Party is saying economically we want to increase taxes or make taxes more equitable and then take that money and give it to Democrats. No, it's to improve the overall state of the economies throughout the country. And that's the misread, I believe, when it comes to the conversation about Democrats and the economy. The Democrats don't want to see the monies that come in on a global level go to Democratic voters or Democratic citizens. It's to improve the overall economy of the country. So Democrats have done a pretty doggone good job when it comes to economics and making money. People have said, my 401k was better during Trump. Well, if you look at it for the full 4 years, I can show you models all day long that disprove that. And it's not, and I'm not being one bit of anecdotal. The models are out there that 401ks grew faster and better and more sustained during this last 4 years under the Biden administration. And on the conversation about the economy, all the things that the Biden administration have done have been solely about improving the overall infrastructure of the country to then improve the ability for citizens to get around and to do the things that will make for a stronger economy, not a select class. So it's one thing to say it, meaning what Trump did in his ascent in 2016 and then not, becoming president in 2017 or being sworn in. It's one thing to say it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. It's another thing to get it done. And this is where, and I'm trying not to go down this one path just yet because I'm going to get there after the break. This is where the conversation about, Richard, would you ever consider switching to the Republican Party? There is no reason for me to do that because the Republicans didn't get anything done that would benefit the larger groups of people. They talked about it, but they didn't actually get it done. Let's talk about this in the space of women's rights and reproductive rights and women's care. There's nothing on the Republican side that interests me, and I'm a dude, and I don't have any. Let me put it this way: I'm a dude, and women's issues are not a specific thing that impacts me in that direct way. Other than I'm married, I have nieces and grandnieces, and female cousins and female friends and colleagues. That's impactful to me because I want their care to be there for them. The Republican Party wants to take those things away. So why would I want to switch or move to the Republican Party? That's not a box I can check. So social issues, can't check a box with the Republicans. Economic issues, they talk a lot of stuff, but they don't get stuff done. And this whole conversation about them lowering taxes, well, proportionately, their tax bill of 2017, which is going to come back to haunt people next year, newsflash, proportionally didn't benefit me any more than what was prior to the 2017 tax bill, tax legislation. It didn't. And the trickle down that we've all been, made to believe, we got ghosted on that. That never happened. It hasn't happened for 40 years. Reagan's trickle down never really happened because if it had, then there would be more people in the middle class that are more prosperous and that are ascending to the middle class that would get there. So it didn't trickle down, it didn't work. They talked a big game economically, didn't happen. So that's, it's a box I can't check. Let's take another issue that the Republicans try to lean into as we go to a quick break. The border, the southern border, let me be specific. The southern border issue, and I really want to get into this a little bit as it relates to immigration when we come back. We'll get to this on the backside of this break, but the border issue, the southern border issue specifically, I want to talk about in the broader sense as it relates to immigration and the one thing that we in Chicago have had to wrestle with, and that's the number of migrants who were brought to Chicago or sent to Chicago or sent to the state of Illinois. So we'll talk about that a little bit on the backside in terms of Richard, what would you ever consider going to the Republican Party? So we'll get into that on the backside of this break. All right, guys, the number is 773-763-9278. I want to hear from you this morning. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Sorry about the background noise. I had to adjust the mic a little bit. All right, Dems to the center or not? Tell us why, either way, and what you think it will look like, and who you think will be the starting five, if you will, in terms of folks that would be the candidates running for national office in the 2028 election. I want to take us there, see what you think it's going to look like. And that's, to me, that's important to have a little bit of conversation now, because we know that, that's coming. That's an inevitable. That's a good inevitable. So let's start to talk about it now so that we don't suddenly rush up on ourselves and go, oh my God, who's going to be our candidate or candidates or team or people? Okay. Coming back to Richard, would you ever consider, moving to the Republican Party, or have you ever thought about that? Well, let's take it in terms of current, not what I may have thought about in the past, but currently on the issues and on the platform that the Republican Party seems to stand for or put out that they stand for. And before we left for break, talked about the border, the southern border specifically, and immigration. Okay, in that space. I'm not pleased at all with what the Republican Party is talking about. And the Democratic Party should, in my opinion, have been even more forceful on fixing the concerns with the southern border. Okay? That's how I see it. The Democratic Party could have, should have, needs to be more forceful in that space. And fixing immigration at large. But part of the problem, of course, is that the Republican Party has continued to block the efforts to fix this problem. And so that is, we have to talk about that. Let's look at Chicago. No, let me come back to this for a second. The border bill that was proposed, that got squashed by the Republicans in the House of Representatives, is utter malpractice. It's just utter malpractice. And what Vice President Harris has said, and others have said, that the Republicans don't want to fix the border. They just want it to be a problem that they can run on. Now, if we circle this or tie this into mass deportation, I had a colleague say that she understands why a lot of the Hispanic community voted for Trump, because much of the Hispanic community that's here legally put in the time, the effort, the work to get to a point where they could be here legally. And that for them to have people come behind them that weren't willing to participate in the process the way that they did, in other words, they paid their dues to be here and become citizens, that they felt that those people, they feel as the Latino, Mexican, Hispanic members of the community, that they should be deported. And that's why they're making the comment that, what's the word? Oh gosh, darn it. That's why they're saying things like, we aren't going to, it's not going to be my family, or it's not going to be my group of people. It's going to be those people over there, because they're illegals, and my family's been good. We followed the rules. We played by the rules. We followed the law. We're not going to get deported. So in that conversation, where I go with regard to the border and immigration at large is, it's not just the people that we say are coming from the southern border or from southern border as adjacent countries. It's people who are in the country that are illegally here from anywhere. And so to say, and the image is that the only people that are here illegally are ones that have come from the southern border. And that ain't true. And or that have come from countries that are adjacent countries to the southern border. That ain't true. Look it up. So on the conversation around immigration, again, I want to keep this, I'm going to go too deep in each individual area, but on the top areas that Republicans like to talk about as it relates to Richard would you ever consider, switching to the Republican Party? On border and immigration, no, because I would be, and again, I started off in this category or this subject by saying the Democratic Party needs to push harder and harder in fixing and improving immigration across the board, not just the southern border. So, on immigration and where Republicans have been on that and what they've done in terms of shipping people, busing people to other cities, no. I can't check that box with the Republicans and say that's a reason that I would want to be, or I'd switch to be a Republican. Religion, that's an easy one. No, because the Republican Party is using religion as a weapon to hurt other people. They're not using it as a tool to embrace people and allow folks to practice the religion that they seek or may have been raised in. So to tell a Muslim American that you're not welcome here because you're Muslim, that's not the religion. That's not I don't want to be a part of a party that looks at religion from that standpoint. Or, frankly, to say to someone that's Jewish or that's of any faith, that's Buddhist, or that's an atheist, or that's not a believer in the traditional religions. No, the Republican Party is at the tip of the spear of using it, no pun intended, as a weapon to harm people or to segregate people, and I have no time for that when it comes to religion. There's a clip that I wanted to play, but the profanity is pretty strong, but the message is even stronger. The young man is talking about, you guys may have seen it. It popped onto social media this weekend. Young man is talking about Devin, how he was asked the question, how did he get radicalized? And you guys could probably find it, and if you reach out to me, I can send it to you. I just don't want to play it on the air. But basically, laced with appropriate profanity, he talks about his father, how he got how did he become radicalized? Radicalized in the sense that he became radical from the left. He said that his father came home from work one day and there was a school board meeting. He went to the school board meeting with his dad, and at the school board meeting they were talking about how why are we wasting our money on school food programs that we could be spending our money someplace else. The dad says, and I'm giving you the edited version, the dad says, raises his hand, stands up and says, listen, I'm a product of that. And I grew up, if it had it not been for the food program, the lunch program, when I was coming along, we wouldn't have made it, blah, blah, blah. He talks about the fact that, too many people are complaining and saying that shouldn't be part of our society and the school system that they're in, blah, blah, blah. And he then says, and if you have a problem with feeding children, send me the bill. So the tie into that with regard to religion is the son made this observation, and he said he noticed that the same people were saying we should take away food support programs are the same people that show up in church on Sunday. And I laugh because I've made my versions and statements about that. Long-winded, too much profanity, don't want to play it on the air. I kind of wanted to play it on the air, but Devin would have been, lost his mind as he went through every, having to edit out and bleep out. The point is, on religion, no, because the hypocrisy that the Republican Party has leaned into and used it as a weapon to make it once again a conversation about the other. So, on social issues, and more specifically the LGBTQ community, live and let live. I know people want to say, yeah, but Richard, in the Bible, and I had the conversation with someone that said, yeah, there's too many people that have leaned into that issue. Well, okay, that's the perspective that you come from. It doesn't mean I'm going to then turn around and vote for a Republican, because the policies at large don't support how I want to see our society be. So on the LGBTQ trans issue and how Republicans handle that, no. On women's rights and women's reproductive rights, no. On the economy, no. On the border, southern border and immigration, no. On religion, no. But let's talk about some of our support systems: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, military benefits. You guys see what I'm doing here. I don't see the Democratic Party saying, hey, let's take those away. Or even letting it be a thing that comes out of somebody's mouth accidentally. So in that space, that's a hard no for me. You want to take away Social Security benefits, Medicare and Medicaid benefits, and military benefits from folks who you say on the right, let's support our troops. Well, supporting our troops doesn't just mean when they're on the battlefield about to get themselves blown apart and then have to come home and rely on, these outlying programs like Wounded Warrior and other programs to take care of them. Hell no. Supporting our troops means from, as the great late comedian John Witherspoon used to say, from the rooter to the tutor. It's all in supporting our troops. When they sign that line and sign up and decide to go and defend our country across the globe, anywhere on the planet, it's all in till they die. That's the deal. But Republicans have people that are part of their platform now that want to take away those benefits. So I'm sure as hell not down with that. Social Security, same thing. People paid into that for decades. No, Medicare and Medicaid. How are we not going to take care of our citizens? What is wrong with the country that won't do that? So Republicans, don't get me. I can't check that box. So there's 6 categories right there that seem to be the tip of the spear. And if we want to even go into foreign policy, I've got my chops there too. When it comes to foreign policy, why in the hell would we pull out from NATO when we have folks, when we have leaders of other countries that want to destroy other people and by invading them, i.e. Russia? And then, and of course, I have my notes here, and the same country that talks about, making sure that they are not perceived as a country that embraces dictators, just decided to grant asylum to a dictator. Russia just decided to grant asylum to Assad. But yet, Republican Americans are in love with Russia. So just taking that issue right there, we can get into the Middle East, sure. Has that ball been fumbled? Most definitely. By more by the right than the left, but the left has fumbled it too. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not blind. We could have done a better job, pushed harder, without a doubt. No question there. But our allies, we aren't messing with our allies and giving threats to them and all that. And by the way, I just had a little bit of an aside. To the foreign leaders, stop kissing Donald Trump's ring. Let him know you aren't, do what you got to do, Donald. But you're not going to come and take over our country. You're not going to tell us how to run our country. And I know that part of the reason that some of the ally leaders are trying to make nice with Donald Trump is because they're concerned about him pulling out of NATO. So for those who are wondering, why is Macron and other leaders, making nice, quote unquote, with, and why did what's his name, Prince William, the oldest, it's Prince William, right? I always get him mixed up. Yeah. Why did he, make nice with Trump? Because their concern is NATO. Let's just be honest. We got the biggest, baddest military, and they don't want to see suddenly the United States backing out of NATO and then leaving Russia to go after other countries. That's the bottom line, because, the economy in France, the economy in the UK, they're going to be all right. But they're concerned about the military threat of Russia and other countries. That's what they have to do to keep that fool from making those mistakes. All right, so how many boxes is that? 7? And they're all no's. And the only one that's even a remote, close possibility on a bad day for me is immigration. But even there, I can't get with the Republican Party. And based on how I look and who their outreach really is to, the proof in the pudding is in terms of who Trump is selected for his administration. I mean, come on. So no, hard no. The answer is to strengthen our party and make our party better and continue to be an outreach party. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to grab your calls. I promise you that. The number is 773-763-9278. We will be right back.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Let's go to Pam on the west side of Chicago. Hey Pam, good morning. Welcome to Choose Views.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning. And Richard, I heard your notes very well outlined, and I agree with you 100%. So when you ask about moving to the center, I really don't know what that is for the Democratic Party. But what I do know, Richard, is that 90+%, 80+% black men, black women voted for Harris. Richard, is anybody asking you why? Is anybody trying to figure out why we got it right? Because I think the assumption is that we just voted for Harris because she was black. I really think that's assumed. Has anybody in the media asked that? We got it right. Now, where do we move? I want Harris to run again. I promise you I do. I want her to run again so she'll have a full campaign season to do what she needs to do. Now, what I'm thinking is that maybe the others in the Democratic Party, they want to see a white man too. They pretend like they're liberal, they're okay with women, but they really want to see a white man at the top of the ticket.
Yeah.
And that's troubling. We have to be honest about this. So there is a divide within the Democratic Party. And if we don't discuss what that is and why, I don't know. Because on the other side of that, for me, the Republican Party has transformed into a hate group. And I mean that that's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
Those are my true feelings. They have aligned themselves with every hate group. They have incorporated those people into the administration. Bannon, Miller, and others.
Yeah.
They have also taken on the persona where we're okay with sexual abuse, because at the top of their ticket is that. And Richard, hear me clearly on this. Had Trump been accused of sexually abusing children or sexually abusing men, he would not be president. But it is okay that he sexually abused women and was adjudicated for that. I know these are harsh words to hear, but you all, Democrat, Independent, and others who supported that sexual abuser Trump, you need to hear it. Yeah. And you need to go figure out why you were able to support him. And the previous show before yours said, well, it really was about the price of eggs. No, it wasn't. It wasn't about the price of gas. It wasn't about just being decent. And trust me, Richard, everybody who supported Harris, we all didn't agree with everything, but we voted for decency. We wanted someone intelligent. We wanted someone who would take care of the country and try to be fair and do what's right for the entire country.
Right.
So moving to the center, I'm quite comfortable where we are as a Democratic Party, because when you look at it's not the transgender people who are committing the most violent crimes out here. It's not the transgender or any other group of people who are promoting hate.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? I want Harris to run again. But what I'm hearing from the Democratic Party, who is a little bit upset because of the loss, and rightfully so, but if people voting for Trump in the Republican Party, hate group, and we don't know the real reason why they did it, because maybe some of them just wanted a white man, any old white man, at the top of the ticket. But if we don't know the truth, we can't get at the root of the problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's one-on-one. If we don't know why you voted for him and you want to couch it under, well, the economy, immigration, and maybe some of those things are legitimate. But the overwhelming problem with him was that he was a pathological liar. And you look at all the sexual predators that he's trying to bring into his cabinet. I mean, that has to stand for something, Richard. Do you see the kind of people he wants to bring in? From Gates, who was rejected. But now Hegseth and others, he has a proclivity towards these kinds of people. And the more they hate, the more he loves them. And so I don't know how you reckon with that. Richard, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know when the Democratic Party says move to the left, what does that mean? What does that look like? Because I don't know. We had it right. Our positions were right. And the media, certainly, they would ask Harris, well, how are you going to unite the country? Now, I know Trump did an interview with, I think, Kristen Wilkins.
Walker.
Did she ask him, Walker, excuse me, thank you. Did she ask him, how are you going to unify the country?
Well, she did ask the question. She did ask this question, Pam, and thank you for your call this morning, contribution.
Sure. And thank you, Richard.
She did ask the question, which, he clearly bobbled, and that maybe he didn't bobble it, but he said what he meant, about this. The one was about tariffs. In this weekend interview, he was asked the question by her about if Americans are going to have to pay increased prices as it relates to, can you guarantee that Americans aren't going to have to pay increased prices because of the tariffs? And he said, I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee there's going to be a tomorrow. And again, I'm giving a paraphrase of the answer. The point is, we're still stuck on this concepts of plans. And to your point, Pam, lying to get through these weak interviews without adequate pushback. And so one of my other notes here has to do with the mainstream media's participation in these categories that I just illustrated. The mainstream media's position on this was awful, and it still remains that way. And so we can talk about messaging all day long. And to Pam's point, and I look at my previous notes, David Jolly had it right. Our message, our ideas, our platforms are right because they're all inclusive. Moving to the center means you're leaving something behind. It's just literally if you look at that. So if moving to the center means you leave issues that are important and policy conversations that are important on a national level, on a regional or local level, then that's not necessarily the best move. The better move, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know that you guys have your observations, which I want to definitely get to. Let's see quickly if we can go to Maurice before we go to break. Maurice, we got a short amount of time. Just want to hit it quickly before we go to the top of the hour break. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Rich. I think we need to emphasize our base, emphasize who we are. And every time our strengths, the Republicans always get us to back off of it. How they got her to run away from Biden record. They brought up price of eggs. You can't tell people how they feel. The economy is good. If you don't have a job, you don't want a job. So you can only help people who want to be helped. But guess what? The people who are in that bad of a shape, who are living in tents and don't want nothing, they ain't voting. So go after your base. Continue to say, I'm here to lift anyone up who wants to be lifted up. We can give you a hand, but can't nobody do it for you.
Yeah.
So people traveling, the Republicans, and when their issues, they don't come off their issues. They make the media bend to their will and reemphasize where they want to go. They always making us come off where we're trying to take the people. And the other thing, you look at all the talk shows, the Republican Party, the economy is so good under Trump. It was so good under Trump. Like it ain't good now. Like it ain't better now. Mm-hmm. And no Democrat comes on air and says the economy is doing phenomenally well, way better than it was under Trump. The stock market is up higher. We never talk about our issues. The little bit of chance we get is our people have to have their talking points. Boom, 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 boom. hit that, then go where you want to go.
Good point,
Continue
Maurice.
to reinforce it. They don't. We have to go after our base and stay where we at. I agree 100% with you. And your whole list was 100% spot on, because if you're a Christian, being a Christian is about knowing who you are and having self-value and wanting to impart that in someone else.
Right. Inclusiveness rather than excluding.
It's never turn anybody down.
Right. Maurice, always good to hear from you, man. And we're hitting the top of the hour. But thank you for the commentary and your observations about us sticking to our message and just making it a broader, bigger message. That makes so much good sense, Maurice. Thanks for the call this morning, man. We're going to have a good day, and you do the same. All right, guys, 773-763-9278. We're going to grab more of your calls on the backside, so stay with us.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So, no, not only am I not going to be one to move to the Republican Party or vote for the Republican Party or support the Republican Party as it currently stands, I'm also not going to go to Mar-a-Lago. And a lot of the journalists over the weekend, in their own way, Kristen Welker at the top of the list, went to Mar-a-Lago. No pushback. Once again, just weakness, and we know where that's coming from. So, we'll talk about that a little bit more another time. But, my list is reasonably complete, given the topics that we all were focused on during this election. And a lot of it's based on what happens in a local community. In our local community, we represent these things and stand for these things as it relates to members of our community, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, border and immigration, southern border and immigration concerns, religion, Social Security, national security. Yeah, we want all those things to be boxes that we check on the Democratic side. So my list is not fully exhaustive or exhausted, but topically, the Republicans don't have anything for me there. That's my answer with some substance. All right, let's go to our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics here in Chicago. Good morning, Karen. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to say everything that Pam said, everything that Maurice said, and I'll just save us some time because they're spot on. Okay. But I would like to add to it. It is the media. This whole notion that the Democratic Party, the question, should the Democratic Party move to the, center? The absolute answer is no, because what it is absolute dereliction of duty by the mainstream media to, cover President Biden going to the picket line and walking with union workers. The amazing jobs report, and then Kamala Harris running on wanting to continue on with that trajectory of creating jobs for Americans, bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. And then also this idea that the Democratic Party has somehow forgotten the working class, and specifically the white working class. What makes these white people feel so hurt and upset? And it has nothing to do with that at all. What it is a furtherance of the zero-sum game that has always existed. The media pushing, and by the way, the 70, Pam brought up some stats about the black Americans in this country who did the right thing. Okay, I'm going to bring up the stats. The 75 white men and the 53% of white women who voted for Donald Trump because they have bought in fully into the zero-sum game narrative that somehow creating jobs, giving opportunities to the others, meaning people that don't look and worship like them, and by the way, I have questions about how they worship, that somehow that is going to take away from them, okay, when in fact more and more studies show that when we lift one another up, when we work together, we all succeed. We all thrive. Our economy thrives. And that's what it is. So it is a lazy idea that if anybody in Democratic leadership is thinking that somehow we have to kowtow and cater to these extremists who vote for cult leaders, the answer is no. And the media needs to get it right.
Yeah. I mean, Karen, what Pam and Maurice both said was some of it was numeric based as it relates to what the percentages did in voting. And yes, we've talked about it, and we're going to continue to talk about who showed up and how many people showed up percentage wise in raw numbers. But at the end of the day, the policies that the Democratic Party stand behind are policies that are broad based for all Americans, because and by contrast, the Republican Party has not and does not. It's really that simple. So I'm not an advocate of us moving to the center, because, as I said, we lose ground by moving. No, what it is we stay not comfortable. We stay where we are, comfortably knowing that our ideas are better, our policies, our plans are better, because they're all inclusive. And then we pull people from what might be the center right or the right or far right. We pull them to us if possible. But ultimately, like Maurice said, it's strengthening our base. And strengthening our base doesn't mean moving away from issues that are base issues. And that's where a lot of times, and I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people who are saying, more than I'm comfortable with, candidly, that the Democratic Party has forgotten about the middle class. I mean, excuse me?
It's BS.
It's BS. Forgotten about the middle class, yet let's just note this. How many billionaires were in President Biden's suggested cabinet 4 years ago versus the billionaires that are in the suggested cabinet of Donald Trump? So you want to talk about forgetting about the middle class? Come on, people, wake the hell up. Which president-elect 4 years ago, Joe Biden, selected a bunch of billionaires to be part of his cabinet versus Donald Trump, who's done that in less than a month's time since the election. So forgetting about the middle class, how about a middle class, hardworking person that's still in the middle class being a part of the cabinet? Do you see any of that? No. So it's a tired conversation. And here's the thing, Karen, and for the rest of you guys, this conversation that I'm talking about, both of these conversations that I'm talking about, came from people who call themselves Democrats, or I shouldn't say call themselves. They are Democrats, and they are ones that are saying that the Democratic Party needs to move to the center. So it's not people on the right that are saying this. It's people that are Democrats that are saying, I think that the party needs to move to the center. On what? And so what I did in one of the conversations is I pressed the person, tell me specifically what the Democratic Party should move to the center on. And that's where the real substance of the conversation, it started to fray, because they couldn't say specifically, what are those items? Tell me the 2 or 3 items that we need to move to the center on and why. So that's why I asked the question this morning. So there you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you look at policy, I would challenge any Republican voter that claims to be a Christian to show any policy that any Republican has presented and passed that has anything to do with the Gospels. Okay. Meanwhile, you have, our the social safety net and the social programs. Those are absolutely much more in line with the teachings of Jesus. And then also, when you talk about wanting to legislate using religious doctrine, which religion are we talking about?
Yep. That's right. Good point.
Okay.
Karen.
I mean, yeah, anyway.
No.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
No, and thanks for bringing the heat this morning, because I could feel my ears burning as I started talking about this. All right, Karen, thanks for your call.
Have a great day. Thanks, Richard. All right, love you. Bye-bye.
Love you, bye. Talk to you soon. All right. Let's just go ahead and go to a break, and then we come back. We'll grab more calls. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back. We'll get your calls.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So one of the big conversations over the weekend is Trump being on the show with Kristen Welker, and how Kristen was, once again, not seemingly willing to push back on the things that Trump clearly lied about. One of them is, which a lot of people may or may not know, and as I was, kind of looking at my notes, I wanted to kind of introduce this to you guys. Donald Trump said that the United States is the only country that has birthright citizenship. Okay, so let's just break this down for a second. First of all, let's just be honest, it's not true. There are about 35 countries across the globe that have birthright citizenship. But who cares what other, this is one of those, I thought when Americans, we make our decisions based on us. If that were true, we make our decisions based on how we want to be, not based on that's what Republicans always are talking about. So, but the reality is that that's not true. Okay? She didn't push back. Whether she wasn't prepared for it or not, there was no challenging of the lie that he threw out there. And that's one of the faults of going back to what Karen was saying and others have said about the mainstream media. How come there wasn't any pushback on that? That's just not true. And so we have this mainstream media that not only is not doing their job, but they're not aware of what their job probably should be. And then this other comment about all of the people from J6 should go to jail. This is where I get into this goes back to some folks that President Biden should consider preemptively pardoning, and those would be some of the members of the J6 committee. I mean, Trump listed a couple names: Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, and Kinzinger. I love how Kinzinger says, "Bring it on." But I mean, let's be honest. He wants to put people in jail or talk about putting people in jail that. And first of all, he's not even president. He's president-elect. He ain't the dude yet. So for him to be talking about putting people in jail as a private citizen now, what I'm going to do, that right there, guys, for those who want us, who talk about, them should move to the center. How in the hell do you move to the center with that? You have to draw a line in the sand. You don't move to the center. You draw a line in the sand. And you, frankly, say what Kinzinger said, which is bring it on. Because... what do they go to jail for? They were doing their job, and they're allowed to be. They're allowed to bring people to task over their behavior, and in this case, what Trump did, as it relates to January 6th. So, again, throwing people in jail for what? What? So, yes, President Biden should try to inoculate those folks, try to, if preemptive pardons are a way to go, I have no problem with that. Because as I have said about him pardoning Hunter, he protected an American citizen from an internal amount of strife that's going to come his way. It's going to talk about a misuse of the justice system. And I know there's some Dems out there that are saying, well, he shouldn't have done it because he was Look, I get that, but protecting an American citizen is part of the job. And to criticize the president for doing the thing, take his son out of the equation. Yeah, we know it was his son. I get that. I'm not stupid. But it was protecting American citizen and an American citizen. And that's one of the powers that the president has. And like I've said, responsibilities. So, with regard to Liz Cheney, with regard to Benny Thompson and Kinzinger and others who are on the J6 committee, yeah, he may need to do that. to protect them from a misdirection and misuse of our justice system and the powers of the president's office. So stand by on that one, but we'll see what happens. Again, circling back to the mainstream media, 30 other countries have birthright citizenship. And oh, by the way, if we're going to have that conversation, maybe there's some members of his family that we need to look into to see if their birthright citizenship is, been properly handled. And you know who I'm talking about. So let your mind wander on that. All right, Devin, let's grab a couple quick calls. Let's go to Victor in Oregon. Hey, Victor, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Chu. How do you do?
I do well, my man. What's going on?
Great. Well, I'm just thinking that for the next 4 years, we're going to be going through what I call the Trump dark ages. So be prepared, and every box that you checked on your list has to be a concern to everybody, and we have to make sure that Donald Trump, who has put into his cabinet and key positions the most unqualified, the most incompetent, and the most morally bankrupt people, you know perfectly well that Donald Trump is not serious about helping the American people at all. This is just, he's just trying to fill his monarchy, put it together, and try to control the government. We have to remember, when Trump was in office for 4 years, he lost over 2 million jobs over that 4-year span, while President Biden created 15 million jobs. You can expect the same for this next 4 years from Donald Trump. The economy, anything that Donald Trump plans to do is going to affect the economy negatively. And, the United States is like the anchor store in the world marketplace. Mm-hmm. So that's why all the leaders have, they have to bend over a bit for Donald Trump, because he is now control of the United States government and, in essence, the economy, too. So it's going to be up to us to keep Donald Trump and hold his feet to the fire. And another problem, of course, is that they control all the data, all the information, all the statistics, and you are going to hear nothing but glowing reports on the economy and everything. It's all going to be very positive, but in actuality, we are heading on a real slippery slope downhill. So it's up to you and the American people to keep Donald Trump in check and make sure that, whatever policy he comes up with, mainstream news will not show the negative impact, but it will be up to you and progressive voices, like Pam and Karen and Maury and everybody that calls in.
And you.
To keep it on track.
That's right. That's right, Victor. All right, my man. Thank you for your morning dose to us. Thank you for being with us and your contribution. And we will talk to you again this week. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, very much.
All right. Bye now. Let's go real quickly to Kurt in Akron. Hey, Kurt, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for taking the call, Richard. So, anywho, I sent you a text stating that we need to look at anchor babies going all the way back to 1977, and you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Don Jr., 77.
Yep.
Ivanka, 81. Eric, 84. Their mother, Ivana, became a U.S. citizen in 1988, so they need to be deported. Barron Trump, born in March of 2006. Melania became a U.S. citizen in July of 2006. Barron needs to be deported. So we need to retroactively look at that and make those 4 kids be on the front line of the deportation.
And why isn't anyone in the mainstream media, when the conversation about birthright citizenship comes up, they have to be prepared. They should be prepared to say, hey, wait a minute, let's talk about, and just do exactly what you did. I mean, let's be honest, Donald, your son, your daughter, and your son all are susceptible to the rules that you're talking about. Tell us why they shouldn't be and make him explain it.
Can I tell you the reason why?
Go.
pigmentation in their skin. Or lack thereof pigmentation in their skin. But anyway.
You're a bad man, Kurt. You're a bad man.
And I sent you 11 interesting little bits and pieces of the last 4 years that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have done for working people. A few of them are they eliminated junk fees for people, which means you can't be charged $35 for a late fee on your credit card or a bounced check. Plus, you can't be charged more for canceling a reservation on the airline or hotels.
Yep.
He eliminated non-compete clauses, which means if you spend a lifetime doing, say, radio, and you decide you don't want to work at WCPT, but you want to go down the street to the other person, you no longer have to wait 6 months with a non-compete clause. You can go right there and do it. Let's see what else. $35 caps on insulin starting last year for Americans on Medicare. Starting next year, $2,000 cap on medications for Americans on Medicare. 6 months for 6 months in 2021, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, or not the Affordable Care Act, the American Rescue Plan.
Right.
The parents got monthly child tax credits that pushed 40% of America's children out of poverty for 6 months before Mansion and Cinema sold out. Also, they saved the pensions of union workers in that same plan, which I failed to mention in my text to you. And, there's another thing, too. Prior to Joe Biden, if a woman was pregnant, gave birth, and was eligible for Medicaid, she was eligible at 200% of the federal poverty level for 2 months after giving birth. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris recognized a lot of the problems with pregnancy happened within the first year of postpartum.
Yep.
They expanded that from 2 months to 12 months after giving birth.
Yeah, I thought it was 12. I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to say. I thought it was 12 months. And here's the other thing. I mean, you sent me this text, which I want to read. Why can't Republicans move to the center? Why is it always a Democratic Party be asked to do that? And you're absolutely right. That's kind of what I was saying to one of my colleagues. And the reply back was, oh, no. They don't need to do that because their message is so singular. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with moving to the center or not. It means that our message is a broader message designed to reach more people. And so,
can I also tell you too? He eliminated billions of dollars in student loan debt. That's a red and blue voter thing. Also, we invested for the first time in the hugest generational infrastructure plan for the first time since Eisenhower in 1954, as well as creating domestic manufacturing so that if, for God forbid, we have another worldwide pandemic, we're not dependent on foreign supply chains to keep us from getting what we need.
That's right. And here's another one, too, Kurt, in terms of where we are with oil. I mean, Trump made our oil situation worse. By his policies in the Middle East.
You mean by selling out our largest refinery to the Arabs?
Yeah. Good alley-oop pass to you on that one.
And then, of course, we also invested in our veterans and their families, going all the way back to the Korean War with the PACT Act. I mean, there's so many things the media could have been talking about, and the Democrats should have been pushing back on every time that they were on there. The media. I mean, there were times during the campaign that there was a Democrat and there was a Republican on Meet the Press and all these other places. The Democrats should have just gone right after it. And you know what? Access be damned. That's the only reason why the mainstream media is so playing nice with the Republicans, is they don't want to lose that access.
And who cares? Because their ratings are stinking up the building anyhow. So they probably would have been better off, mainstream media, if you're listening, working, talking, doing the right thing as it relates to Democratic conversation and Democratic policies, because now people aren't going to, I mean, listen, their audiences are down because people don't want to watch the garbage. And so they're about to get that the thing that they were trying to avoid is the thing that they're about to get. So,
and like the old song says, you don't know what you got until you lost it. So
there it is.
I'm going to make sure when I get my audio thing done next year, I'm going to make sure the American people realize they fudged up and they're going to lose something that they probably loved.
Yeah, good point. Kurt, thanks, man. We're going to hit this break. Appreciate your call. And you catch you too. All right, guys, quick break, 773-763-9278. We will be right back.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Glad to be with you this morning. I gave a list of the things that if someone said, would you switch to the Republican Party when I was having this conversation, and the answer is unequivocally no, and the reasons why, and I broke it down based on issues as quickly as we can in this morning's show, and I know we'll talk about it again. And then I asked two questions. Should the Democrats move to the center? And this was based on two different conversations that I had. Yes or no, and if yes, why, and if no, why. You guys have been great in answering that question. And who you see as potential candidates as we get closer to 2028. And we need to start that conversation now, both in terms of how the local races, regional races, state races, national races are going to play themselves out. We have opportunities in terms of the midterms, but before even. In front of that are some of the local elections, whether they be running for sheriff, whether they be leading Democratic parties in a certain community, like our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be doing, and others. We will have a guest on later this week that will be speaking to that. And that's where we start, and we have resounding change and impact. It's getting the local stuff under control. And I'm going to really be leaning into that, guys. And when we get into the new year, we are definitely going to be spending a lot of time talking about local political involvement, local political groups and organizations and support groups that we have to take back and take control over. But someone sent me this that I just have to read to you guys in terms of talking about social issues and some of the why not flipping to the Republican Party based on some of the policy concerns. And it's basically, then Jesus said to the sick, quote, you better have insurance. Then Jesus said to the stranger, are you here legally? And then the third one, then Jesus said unto the hungry, my taxes better not be paying for these loaves and fishes. So a little bit of humor, dark humor, if you will, in terms of how the gospel according to MAGA is being perpetrated. That's the gospel according to MAGA. All right, let's grab a couple of quick calls. Devin, let's go to Brett in Darien. Hey, good morning, Brett, and welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, how you doing, Richard? Good morning.
Good.
Thanks for taking my call.
You too. What's happening, man?
Not much. I mean, our message needs to go against this ultra-wealthy people, these ultra-wealthy folks that they already own 2/3 of the money in the country, I mean, we could all be doing a little better if they would share it with us,
Well, or get out of the way.
This is the type of country.
How about just getting out of the way? Yeah. I'm sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. I mean, these guys own 2/3 of the wealth in the country. I mean, and yeah, they outgunned us in the swing states on the commercials and all of that, talking about how the kids are going to get their reproductive organs changed without their parents' knowledge. And I don't know, some of the ridiculous things that they put out there, that people bought into. But yeah, these billionaires, I mean, that's our major problem, I think, in this country, these ultra-wealthy corporations and, people like Elon. I mean, he's the problem,
Well, and others if you look at the list, and I printed out the list of the folks that have been proposed or suggested as part of the cabinet, and I think there's 12 names on this list that I have, and 9 of them are billionaires. So how in the hell does a middle class Republican MAGA-esque voter justify voting for that? What do they think? Okay, they're better at running stuff financially, so they're going to absolutely help me out. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. They're getting rid of things that are actually real time helping you. They want to get rid of those things and reduce them. And for what? To what end? Where is that? That's what I keep asking, Brett. Does anybody know where that money's going to go?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The funny thing is they all complain about federal money, They all complain about the handout, But they're the ones at the front of the line all the time, right? I mean, that's where they get their money, from the federal handout.
Yep.
But they complain about it.
Well, look at and this is why Elon Musk is a conflict of interest. Kelly Loeffler down in Georgia, conflict of interest. The list, Ramaswamy, conflict of interest. Why? Contracts that they have gotten and will get, and they are then telling the American people, look, you all don't deserve to have. We're going to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and military benefits, Brett. Military benefits. Sure. Are you crazy?
Sure. They did last time. They did the last time he was in office. They tried cutting all the military benefits. Yeah, but they waved that flag though right away.
Yeah.
Hey, let me get my flag out and wave it.
Sure enough.
So what a big patriot I am.
Let me put on my my rugged wear to make it look like my flannel shirt and my truck driver hat to make it look like I'm with the American people.
Yeah, that's the thing people should think about, though. I mean, we would all be doing better if they would, spread the money out a little bit instead of hoarding it,
Good point.
I mean, we could all live a little better in this country, everybody.
Good point, Brad. So, all right, man, be well today.
Enjoy your day, Richard.
You too. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right, bye now.
Sure. Bye.
Let's go to William real quickly in Oak Lawn. Hey, William, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. I'm a first-time caller to Choose Views. I did call the family meeting once. But anyway, I called to respond to some of the discussion you had about Christianity and Christian nationalism here. And I'd like to quote Gandhi, who once said, "I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are not like your Christ." And it sums up a lot of these MAGAs, I feel.
Go ahead, William. I'm sorry. I took a deep breath.
Also, I didn't see it, but Keith Olbermann's snippet this morning, he mentioned how Trump told Christine Walker yesterday that he wanted to, annex Canada and Mexico, make them states. And Keith said, if that's the case, then the Mexicans cross here, freely because there's no law against you crossing states. And he said it'll give Mexico about 113 representatives in Congress.
I mean, William, listen, man, I appreciate your information and your laughter with this, because you have to sit back when you hear this and scratch the side of your head like I'm doing right now and going, as much as we need to finish the job and work harder and do things from the Democratic side, you just sit back and you have to go, are these folks that, I'm not going to call folks stupid this moment, but are they that gullible, or are they that racist or sexist or biased that they would just not get? And yeah, Kristen Welker doesn't do a good job in her role. That's it. I mean, certainly when she's talking to Donald Trump. But come on, folks. I mean, did you go to the men's room or boys' room or girls' room during that part of civics to understand that we just annex? What the hell?
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's mind-boggling. So I'll flip the line. I thank you for giving me the time.
All right, William. Thank you for calling. Thanks for your contribution, man, and have a great day. All right. Oh, boy. Let's go to Mildred in Matson, Illinois. Hey, good morning, Mildred. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for taking my call. I just had to respond about people jumping ship, going to the Republican Party. I don't understand that either, because they never offered anything. They don't care about the poor. They don't care about health care or women's rights. I actually heard a guy say that we should let our old people die when they was having a town hall meeting. Mm-hmm. And again, they have done, the Biden administration have done so much for the people and for the country. You can't look at individual issues. You got to look at policy. My daughter got her bills, her student loans paid off. And I know many more that got their student loans paid off. He found a way, even though the Republican Party tried to stop the Biden administration. Everybody knows that, I hope, from eliminating student debt. I mean, you have to have Congress in there as well, because the president does not do policy. He signs the bills. And people need to understand that, which I know they don't.
Yeah.
oh, he can do anything. A president can do anything. Yeah, autocrat. That's what Trump want to be. And again, Trump said yesterday, I heard him talk in one of those meetings, that people were asking, well, what if you got a family that some are American citizens and some are not? And he said, well, they all can go.
Well,
That's not funny.
And that it's not funny, but the stupidity behind it makes you laugh because, and the harm and the cruelty of it. Because here's the thing, Mildred. Is it fair to say that this conversation, people are perceiving that if that were to happen, and that the ire of Trump and his, I think the guy that's going to be the head of Homeland Security, that's supposedly directed at folks coming from the southern border that are brown-skinned people. But if it's going to be across the board, or if it's really going to be properly implemented, that means there's some folks that are here from Europe that are as white as the driven snow that would have to be included in that for it to be properly implemented. But nobody's talking about it, and no one's asked a question from the mainstream media. So, Donald Trump, do you also mean people that are here illegally from, and name a country that's the quote white countries that he spoke so lovingly of? But that's where the mainstream, that's where the mainstream media is failing, because they don't, they don't ask that question. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
I think their job's on the line, Richard. Seeing somebody got the tongue, and it's usually your boss. Look who owns all those media outlets. They not free to talk it. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, that's. See, I said to this one colleague, I said, listen, for us to say that the Democratic Party should do better and they need to change this and change that, without illustrating how poorly across the board the mainstream media has covered Donald Trump the last 9 years, is worse in some ways than just about anything else we could leave off the table. Is to give the mainstream media the same pass that they've given Donald Trump. It would be equally horrible, if not worse.
Maybe we should not call it a mainstream media. Maybe we should call it corporation media.
Probably a better, yeah.
Maybe people understand what it is, because the media is not the media anymore. They bought them out.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very, very true, Mildred. Listen, appreciate your call this morning. Thank you so much for your contribution, Mildred.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
All right. Have a great day today.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I mean, we go back and forth on this, and sometimes we get, kind of caught in our own conversation. But by doing that, sometimes we forget about the mainstream media and its deficiencies and its just awful coverage and reporting. And the list goes on and on and on. And then here we are yet again, eventually making our way around to talking about how the mainstream media just dropped the ball again. So, all right, guys, we got a break coming up that we're going to take. The number is 773-763-9278. We're going to grab a couple more of your calls before we wrap up today's show.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. I just have to say this. You guys have seen the pictures that have come in this week from this weekend's reopening of the Cathedral Notre Dame in Paris. And, of course, Stinky Butt Trump was there. And I don't know, Devin, if you saw any of those things that were posted. But what was really sad's not the right word. I don't want to use that in the wrong way. What was really evident is that nobody wanted to be around him. You notice that in the pictures. He's sitting by himself. There's nobody that wants to sit near him. And, of course, that punk tried to make a photo op opportunity that he was talking to Mrs. Biden. He looked like the guy that's out there. Nobody wants to be around him, and I hope. So if you want to emblazon a picture in your mind about how you want to see Trump, that's the picture. seeing him out there by himself on an island, flailing. That's what I want to see. It was like he was looking for love, looking for a a friend, and people were just looking at him like, what a disgusting human being you are. That's what I want as the image, so that our local politicians can do their work, our regional and our national folks can do their work. Is that Donald Trump gets isolated on an island, nobody wants to be around him. That's really, hopefully, what we can get from this to help us move things in a better direction. All right, Devin, let's grab one last call. Let's go to Jennifer here in, I guess, the Chicago Metro. Where are you calling from, Jennifer? Where are you calling from? Welcome to Choose Views.
Hi, I'm from Evanston.
All right, welcome.
Hello, and I'm the Jennifer D that often sends you information.
That's you.
It is.
Welcome. Hey, wait, hold on before you say anything. Listen, y'all, Jennifer sends me some great stuff, by the way, and I've read some of the things that she sent to me via email. So pay attention. Everybody pay attention. Put your pens down and listen.
Okay. Well, first, so about the media and about where we are with our story these days. So my background is communication, and there's a saying that if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and you won't like what they say.
Yeah.
We have gotten to the point where other people are defining what the left is.
Oh, you're so right.
And when I even look at the television show The View, they have the former anti-Trumper who listens, who has been exposed to the truth and still doesn't believe it.
You talking about Alyssa?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible.
So
it's horrible how she's on that show. But go ahead, Jennifer. Sorry.
Right. So she keeps defining what the left is. And recently, AOC had people who voted for her and Trump explain why they voted for the two different people. They said because they heard from her and they heard from him. So although we're trying to leverage the traditional media or legacy media, we're at a point where we need to almost consider that dead and come up with new ways of communicating. Because as long as we continue hoping they will stand up and do the work they traditionally did, we're going to be frustrated. And it's like let's stick on a pig. We're just going to get frustrated.
No, I agreed. Agreed, and that's we have to be more self-defining. And then in that conversation, Jennifer, one of the things that some folks that have said to me that, well, the handful of people have said to me, "Hey, Rich, the Democratic Party needs to move to the center." No, if there's anything that needs to be tightened up, is our message has to be defined by us. And I don't say that our message needs to change. That's different, folks. That's different, miles different than our message needs to be defined by us. That's what, if anything, I will agree with you, not just anything on a lot of things that you say. That's in this moment so precisely true. We have to define, and that starts with, though, and this is why I've been saying this since the election and really before the election, but since the election and the outcome, we have to right now say, okay, we're taking charge of what we do, what we say, how we're perceived. We're not going to be dictated to. Because dictation, i.e. autocracy, those two go hand in hand. They want to dictate to us who we are, what we believe in, what we stand for, what we allow. We can't allow that to be the case. Right now, we are self-determining. So please, y'all, hear what Jennifer said, not just in terms of what the media message should be, but where you stand as an individual has to be determined and defined and put out there by you and who you're supporting and why. We have to regain that, and that's a space that I do agree with you, Jennifer. We have kind of yielded, and we can't let that continue. We have to draw a line in the sand on it.
Right, and in a way, we have to be a combination of AOC and Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah,
because being able to come back at people like Buttigieg does, know the facts, come back at people with the facts so that they can't deny the facts.
Right. Be prepared. That may very well require our bench across the board, state level, city level, national, all of the above, have to be a little bit more prepared and have people around them to have them more prepared. Not to be so automatic or whatever, but they have to be prepared to say, no, that's BS, and let me correct you. And there were a couple of times there were a number of times, but noted where Vice President Harris and the Brett Baer interview comes to mind, where he made a couple of comments. He's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. This is what actually is being said, and that's what we need. But this is where, because we already know the mainstream media is only going to play part of that. And she caught him and busted him on that. And even after that, the mainstream media didn't play the full breadth of what went down. They cooked it so that he didn't look so bad. And not just Fox did that. CNN and MSNBC did the same doggone thing. So we still have to continue to be willing to do what you just said, Jennifer, and that's be self-determining with our message. Great point.
Right.
Great point. You're the smartest girl in the room this morning.
I'm the only one in the room.
Okay.
But thank you.
You're very welcome. No disrespect, but thank you so much, Jennifer, for the call.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day today. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Jennifer's always loading me up with information. She sends me some great stuff, guys, and I love reading her emails on the show. As we wrap up, guys, I'm going to play this quick. Do we have enough time to play what they really voted for, time-wise? How are we looking on that?
Yeah, we should.
Let's hit them with that before we walk away today.
Told me they voted for bigotry, they voted for hate, they voted for the rapists because they want low gas prices. Well, here I am in the lame duck presidency of Joe Biden right now, and here's what I'm paying for gas prices. So anyway, I'm just recording this for posterity. Let's just put this out into the eternal internet and let's see what happens. I know many other people are doing the same thing with eggs and bread. Let's just go ahead and put it out there. Because we all know the only reason you really voted for Donald Trump is because he hates the same people you do. That's the real reason. Anyway, have a nice have a nice day.
The price he posted, not only the audio, the video that he posted was the price of eggs in a couple different locations and the price of gas in a couple different locations, just so you could see, okay, Donald Trump had nothing to do with those being down from where they were 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Joe Biden and the administration did. And the collective work with state leaders, governors of different states and state legislatures. That's what had the impact on that. Getting after businesses and saying, listen, stop lying, Kroger. Stop keeping prices artificially propped up. That's what he was trying to say. And, for Donald Trump to go on any outlet and say he can't guarantee that Americans aren't going to pay higher prices, you should, if you voted for him and you want to say that you voted for that being down, you should feel really stupid. I'm not going to call you stupid, but you should feel really stupid because so many people tried to tell you that is not what was going to happen and that was not going to be the conversation. But you knew too much. You were smarter than everybody else in the room. You're like, nope. And if this mass deportation starts or even medium deportation starts, watch what happens to prices of other things that you so dearly love and you say you voted on. And I'm not trying to be, mean to anybody. That's not me. But I'm telling you, you didn't pay attention. And if you did pay attention and you still chose to do this, then not more than just shame on you. More than just shame on you. You need to be out in the cold for a while because you made a decision to not come in when it was offered to you because you said, nah, I know better. I'm okay out here. So listen, guys, no hate out here at all. just the reality of those decisions that were made are going to be painful. Man, Devin, we get through it. Thank you guys for tuning in today. As always, take a deep breath, make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.